Rory McIlroy up sticks and moved to the USA more than a decade ago. The wounds of Rory McIlroy's devastating US Open collapse will be stinging once again after an unsavory reminder. Reince Priebus, Donald Trump's former White House chief of staff, bizarrely dragged McIlroy into the conversation when discussing Kamala Harris's recent performance on ABC's show, The View. He said she wanted to clarify the two most important issues that are facing these two candidates, the economy and immigration, and she bombed like Rory at the U.S. Open. McIlroy looks set to end his decade-long wait for a major in June, before 3 bogeys in his final 5 holes, which included 2 missed short putts, handed the title to Trump's All-American pal Bryson DeChambeau, despite the agonizing result and the jeers from those who revel in McIlroy's major mishaps. The 35-year-old was gracious in defeat and called DeChambeau a worthy champion on social media. He also shed light on just how painful it was to let the title slip through his fingers at a time when he was still in the midst of divorce drama with long-term partner Erica Stoll and decided to take time away from the course. It was a tough day, probably the toughest I've had in my nearly 17 years as a professional golfer, he wrote. The one word that I would describe my career as is resilient. I've shown my resilience over and over again in the last 17 years, and I will again. I'm going to take a few weeks away from the game to process everything and build myself back up. McIlroy was born and bred in Europe, but joined the PGA Tour in 2010 and embraced life in the States by relocating to Florida 2 years later. The 4-time major champion has stuck by the US-based tour with immense loyalty and shunned the possibility of mega money in Saudi Arabia's breakaway LIV Golf League. Why, then, has a prominent political figure, unprompted, rubbed McIlroy's face in his toughest moment on a course?